see everyone this morning. I don't know if you have heard, but a great American was lost just within the past hour or two or three. General Paul Powell lost his life. So I want to start this morning with a moment of silence to honor
You put a damn sock on it. Sorry.
Thank you. You know, we've learned a lot in the last 18 months. Personally, professionally, and certainly here in Newcastle County government. One thing we've learned is how strong we can be when we are united, how our country and community are actually so fragile when we're divided. And we've also had a little glimpse into the future, when you can spend months at work without leaving your home. A glimpse into the past, into the injustices of the past, injustices that fester, that simply won't go away. In the last 18 months, we've seen some of the racial hatred that continues, even here in our community. Racial hatred that our predecessors never addressed comprehensively. You know, in 2015, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, the Duke University, and the New School did a study on wealth and equity, looked at all the assets that families in Boston had and all the liabilities they had. It looked at the net wealth of families of different racial groups, and it found back in 2015, the average white family in Boston had a net wealth of $247,500. $247,500. When you took all the assets, the house, the stocks, the 401k, you subtracted out the mortgage, credit card debt, any liability. For black families, the net wealth was $8. $8. 2015 in Boston. Now, 2015 wasn't that long ago, and Boston's not too far away. And I know for many of you it may be surprising, but with what we've seen in the past 18 months, I think that sort of set us up for a lot of the inequality in outcomes that we saw. The fact that a virus that treats every human body the same was more lethal in some communities than others. Thanks to President Biden, Senator Carper, Senator Coons, Congresswoman Blunt-Rochester, we have a historic opportunity together with the state, with, of course, County Council, and I see Councilman Street, Councilman Sheldon, Councilman Smiley here today. We have a historic opportunity to address these inequities. As I was talking to Congresswoman Blunt-Rochester just a few weeks ago about what our plans are with the stimulus, and what we decided together is that this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, an opportunity to collaborate like never before between federal, state, and local to make a dramatic difference. And in effect is our New Deal, the New Deal of our generation. We have run one of the most public processes in the history of our government, starting with a website that solicited public ideas. We got hundreds of ideas from the general public. We ran numerous task force committee meetings, over 30 committee meetings in which there was a committee of community leaders. Many of them are here today. And we invited the public to attend each and every one of those meetings. County Council held a couple meetings of their own, again, open to the public to solicit ideas. Our strategy with our American Rescue Plan Act dollars, $54 million this year, $54 million next year, is to reimagine our county, and to reimagine our county, particularly with a focus on equity, on jobs, and on housing. With respect to equity, we're going to invest to address historical inequities and those exacerbated by the pandemic. We're going to invest $5 million to start on something called a Building Better Communities Initiative. We're going to implement recommendations of a new commission that we're forming that our Chief Administrative Officer, Vanessa Phillips, will be talking about momentarily. It's an initiative to address violence in our community and increase community engagement in underserved neighborhoods. Councilman J Street has been a champion for these kind of investments, not just for 18 months, not just for years, but really for generations. Sorry, Jay, you're still a young man. And we thank you for joining us here today, and we're going to give you a chance to speak in a moment. Anyone who listens to county council meetings knows his passion, not just for words, but for action. We're going to also invest $1 million to strengthen commercial corridors in historically underserved areas, like here on the right, Route 9 corridor. As I mentioned, we had a number of committees. One of them was the Economic and Community Development Committee, co-chaired by council members John Cartier and Penrose Hollins. I don't think either are here today, but they're passionate about supporting business owners and identifying value in communities that have been left behind. We're also going to propose to County Council to invest an additional $500,000 in the National Health Care Program. The first AmeriCorps program started in Newcastle County in years. Corps members are already working hard in community institutions across our county. Penelope Velasco and Valeria Yarborough are two members who already are serving today with the Food Bank of Delaware and Christiana Care's Harrington Values Initiative. These two members, like all the members of our health corps, serve in different nonprofits, but they collaborate so that they're sharing information, again, to address the front lines of these inequities. Providing PPE, COVID vaccination information, and education. When we announced the program a few months ago, we announced it using CARES Act dollars and said we only really had the money to do it through the end of this year, but we looked everywhere we could to find additional dollars to extend the program, and we're going to propose to County Council that program be extended. We're also going to look at environmental injustices in our community, long-standing injustices. We brought on a consultant, again, someone with generations of experience in land use permitting and inequities in our community, working at the port. Trevor Knight has already begun to augment our team and focus on the environmental injustices, not all of which, but many of which are located within a few miles of where we are today. We're also going to look at injustices really from cradle or pre-cradle. I see Kirsten here from Children and Families First. I think that's her behind the mask. Thank you for being here. We're going to expand resources to the most vulnerable first-time mothers before their child is born. My personal experience, I really wanted to be a high school teacher coming out of college. A program called Teach for America placed me in a fourth grade classroom, and you should have seen me the weeks before I went into that classroom. I was stressed. I thought high school is where it's at. That's where you make a change. And after teaching fourth grade for a few weeks, if you talk to me, I felt like to some degree it was too late. We had to start even earlier. And that's going to be reflected in how we propose these dollars are spent when we send a budget in a few weeks to County Council. We had an early learning committee that was co-chaired by council members Lisa Diller and Kenny Woods. They identified home visits and the work that Children and Family First are doing through the Nurse Family Partnership as one of the most important things to help our mothers and provide for supports for our most vulnerable families. In terms of jobs, I mentioned equity, jobs, and housing. I think many of you, perhaps all of you, have heard the historic investments that Governor Carney announced just a week or two ago to prepare more Delawareans for jobs in the future. The investments that have already been announced for pathways programs in high schools and expanding into lower years in the middle school, we believe will prepare for students in careers in targeted industries of healthcare, IT, finance, and engineering. It's really one of our priorities not to duplicate efforts in the state, but to look where there are gaps, where the state's $900 million is not meeting the needs of the community. Of course, they can't do all things for all people. In our Workforce Development Committee, which is co-chaired by Councilman Tim Sheldon, who is here, it offered a menu of opportunities for investment, including case management for individuals and workforce development programs. So where the state is really building on existing workforce development programs, what we're looking for is gaps, potentially wraparound services that those in workforce development programs need to address other needs outside of simply the vanilla workforce development that we're used to. I mentioned equity, jobs, and housing. 2 weeks ago, we announced our plan to invest $30 million to increase the supply of affordable rental and ownership in the county. $15 million of which will come from these American Rescue Plan Act dollars. We are submitting an ordinance to County Council. It will be introduced October 26th, next week, which includes the full budget for the first round of ARP funding. We look forward to further discussion with County Council on the proposed agenda. Working together, we can reimagine Newcastle County and address inequalities that have impacted too many for too long. Two things I wanted to say on that note. The first is that too many communities across our country and too many societies across our world are wrought with internal division. We have been very fortunate with our relationship in my office with County Council in the last year and a half, that the divisions that existed, we addressed them, and we addressed them within the confines of County Councils. That the people of our county saw a united front when we went out to do COVID-19 testing, when we went out to supplement Delaware State University's efforts, when we went out to assist over 1,000 teachers with grants on the front lines of this pandemic. We did so with a united front. And I just hope and pray that as we move forward as a community, as we hopefully move out of a situation where we're dealing with a deadly virus every day, I hope that tenor of unity and that sense of collaboration, that we have a need to work together to overcome and discuss the differences that we have to fight for our community will continue. And let me also add that since day one of my time as county executive, the bottom of my stationery has read honesty, transparency, and efficiency. My staff knows well that from my time in Iraq, where there were billions of dollars flowing, I had friends who went to jail for how they, the callousness with which they treated public taxpayer dollar. We absolutely have no tolerance for that in Newcastle County government, and we will continue to bring in the best outside auditors, the best outside attorneys. Not only, so you're not just taking my word for it that your taxpayer dollar is being spent legally, honestly, transparently, and efficiently, but you'll have outside advisors, the best in the business, to look at it as well. In closing, it's important to also acknowledge the important work of the Audit and Compliance Committee. I'm not sure if any members of that committee is there. Councilwoman Kilpatrick has served on that committee. It's not, it doesn't always get front page news, at least we hope it doesn't get front page news, but Janet has done tremendous work behind the scenes, making sure that every penny of every dollar is spent efficiently and legally. So without further ado, I want to bring up Vanessa Phillips, who's really put together the Newcastle County Commission on Hopeful Communities. I know that there are many members of that commission here, and it's vitally important work and a key pillar of our equity agenda.
Recommendations that played a central part in creating the framework for the Newcastle County Commission on Hopeful Communities. A lot of those recommendations focused on economic development, public health, public safety, and education. So it gives me great pleasure today to announce the members of the Commission on Hopeful Communities. Director of Equity and Strategic Partnerships with the Red Clay School District. Thank you for being here, Dr. Bond. Kevin Kelly, former Director of Parks and Recreation Director from the City of Wilmington. Dr. Daniel Woods, Assistant Principal of Richardson Park Elementary School. Jordan Perry, Assistant County Attorney, Newcastle County's Office of Law. CJ Bell, Manager of Special Projects with Newcastle County. Dan Moss, the Hero Health Coordinator for Newcastle County. And Tanya Banks, the Superintendent of Ferris School. The Commission on Hopeful Communities will be focused on the Building Better Communities initiative. When the American Rescue Plan was announced, one of the core values was to tackle disproportionately impacted communities, and with equity as one of our key pillars into how to invest ARP dollars. Now was the ideal time to provide much needed resources that will ultimately change lives. The Building Better Communities initiative will directly engage with underserved neighborhoods throughout Newcastle County to increase community engagement and reduce violence reduction. Our core areas will focus on, much like the Hope Commission, education, public health, public safety, and economic development. We will expand upon better practices such as programs like Project Seed, in addition to taking innovative approaches targeting at-risk youth with programs such as audio engineering and conflict resolution, in hopes of creating community revitalization model that the nation can follow. Here are some of the projects that we will be funding and recommending to the Newcastle County Council to support. Project Seed, which is a Newcastle County Police Department initiative led by former Lieutenant Gerald Tatum, that takes a holistic approach to neighborhood issues, addressing problem properties, hosting cleanup events, and community engagement. A school-based trauma program with the Red Clay School District and Children and Family First, providing conflict mitigation and resolution training to youth. We will be providing one-on-one counseling for students exposed to violence. The Kappa Cares initiative, and I see we have members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated with us today. They will be providing an after-school and weekend programming at the Achievement Center, creating a safe haven for youth residing in the city of Wilmington. It will include educational gaming and game tournaments, DJ training, chess training, STEM programs, financial literacy, and job mentoring. At this time, I would like to welcome Councilman Jay Street to the podium to talk to you about the original Hope Commission proposal in which we are basing the Commission on Hope Communities.
I have a quick interlude first. Before you go, I need everyone to turn that way. And on 3, say happy birthday, George Smiley. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday, George!
I know y'all see it at the council. Everybody knows me. So I don't do questions. I've been in office almost 5 years. I think this is the first time. That's because of the importance of all these initiatives that we're talking about today. Some things never go away. People do things, there's a reason there's a
5th, during my teenage, being found murdered, Rocky Park, 1996. I went to the first funeral. That mother's well, standing over her son. That noise never goes away. But there's a reason. Like it is now, was on silence about the violence. So I purposely intentionally embarrassed them by having another branch of government adopt a plan to stop the violence in and around the city. But I do something now. Thus came the Hope Commission. They worked for a year. In my opinion, took 6 of my 10 points, adopted them, added the Hope Zone. And they were funded with $500,000. The director made $100,000. It was destined for failure from the inception. This administration. In March, when they had money, I purposely and intentionally blindsided everybody. Instead of bringing forward the budget, I made a motion on council floor to have the administration adopt a plan to reduce violence in Newcastle County to the extent practical work with the city. If you look at the whole commission plan and what's in it, what's being presented today is absolutely consistent. And for that reason, I support it 1,000%, and I will fight for it on county council just as hard as I fought for anything because of the support. End of the day, we're in trouble as a nation as relates to violence. And this is going on in Chicago, it's going on in Phillips. Ain't got nothing to do with that. We're first in a lot of things here, we should be first in stopping this violence. And I have every confidence that people like Joe Bryant, former director of public safety, who started, at my urging, the intervention special program when he was director of public safety. I have every confidence that the captains are going to do a great job in tutoring those kids, giving them things to do, being a positive influence in their life. I have every confidence that Darrell Green's team in Red Clay is going to work with kids and kids who are troubled kids. We can identify them. First time we knew a kid was going to have a potential problem with behavior was the first time he got suspended from school. So we're going to intervene. We're going to work together. This program, these activities have my unconditional support. And I want to thank you for standing up, being willing to spend some real money. And although I look at the reduction, $30 million already, we're going to fight about adding something to that, a lot more something to that. But look at the comparison. You see, he invited me to be here today, probably won't invite me anymore after today because all these things are wonderful. They're great. And when we had the programs in Red Clay, city kids will be involved. My kids from Hilltop Lutheran Neighborhood Center go to AI. So that's where one of the schools is going to start in. But my challenge is, and I'm saying to the city council, where the hell are you? Where's your plan? And why aren't you involved in this? He won't invite you back. How I feel is how I feel. It's a multi-governmental responsibility, and it shouldn't be solely Newcastle County. I
do a lot of hard things in my job. Standing up after Councilman Street talks might be the hardest. But I think that's all we got. And that's it. That was our closing act there. That's some of the openers. So thank you very much for coming today. I appreciate it, and sort of, as Councilman Street knows well, the proof is in the pudding. We can allocate money. It's up to the county council, us to get 7 votes on county council, maybe even 13 votes on county council. And then most importantly, and a lot of those partners are here, make sure we implement things well, make sure that the taxpayer dollar, we can look and make sure every dollar is spent well, but really it's the outcomes that determine how we're doing. And that's up to me and my team and council and their teams, but it's also up to all of you. Thank you very much.